Okay, so the fabric is dry, and now I'm just going to press it. Now I'm going to press it on the wrong side. This is the wrong side, so I'll press it on the wrong side. This is the right side. So we shedded a few, shedded a little bit of the grain line, but it's still straight. So we're just gonna press it, and continue all the way down as I press it. I have put water in the iron, so we are going to basically steam press it, and to the point where I can, sometimes you can actually spray a little water on it if you need to, but I'm press it all the way through from one end to the other. When I finish with that, then we're gonna lay it out. If you notice, I have a muslin type ironing board cover instead of one of those metallic ones, because the metallic ones, they give off more heat and can burn your fabric. So muslin, this is linen, and you can find one of these at like Walmart. That's where I got this one from, I think, or any fabric store. They would possibly have them, but if not, like I said, Walmart, or at Target, something like that. So we're gonna press it, steam press it, and get ready to proceed with laying out the fabric. Okay, that's what we're gonna do next. All right, so basically I'm going to, I like to press it for steam, get the wrinkles out. That's all I'm doing, just steam pressing it, and I'll do that with the entire piece of fabric, and then I'll lay it on the cutting board or the table here. Okay, I have pressed the fabric, and now I'm getting ready. I'm preparing it for preparing to lay it out. So what I've done is I fold the fabric in half, as you can see, and I've folded it with the right sides together. Now that's a little bit important, because when you mark your fabric, if it requires any tracing, which I think I will trace the the darts. See, there's a dart right here. There are a couple of darts here. There's a dart at the bust line, 2 darts on that front, and then I think there's a dart on the back. Alright, so when it just makes it a little bit easier for marking if I'm going to use some tracing paper, which I will, just to show you an easy way to do it, as opposed to tacking. And there are plenty of different ways to mark it, but we're going to use that. Alright, so I want to make sure that the edges are even. See, that's the whole point of straightening the grain, so that these are right. They're even. They're meeting. So as they meet, then I can just press the rest of it down to the point where it folds. All right, so I've done that with the entire piece. Now sometimes, of course, like in my case, I'm working on a surface that's not long enough to hold the entire piece. So what I have done is I have folded some of the fabric up so it's not hanging off on the floor. All right, so I just rolled it up. I matched the selvage all the way down, and then I came back and I just rolled it up so it wouldn't hang off the table. Because if it hangs off the table, then one piece of it is going to pull, and then you're kind of faced with the actual issue of straightening. What was the whole purpose of straightening the grain if you're going to actually allow the weight of the fabric to pull it off grain again? So now I'm looking at the guide sheet, using that as much as possible. I try and lay out my fabric. So here's my guide sheet for this particular pattern, and as you can see on this, they have this there where the fold, this is the fold on the pattern on the guide sheet. I fold mine with the selvage close to me for a reason, okay? Because when you mark the grain line, when you actually use the grain line that's on the pattern piece, then it's easier to measure than my trying to reach over and measure from wherever the grain line is to the fold, okay? So I'm going to use it from wherever the grain line is to the selvage. So that's why I folded it with the selvage facing me. Now, if I had a table where I can walk around and had plenty of room, then it really wouldn't matter. I would fold it the way that they have it here. So, and they have layouts for a 45-inch wide fabric. Okay, that's 45 inches. Then they have another, this is with or without the nap, meaning that it's a one-way design, or it's a plaid, or it's a stripe or corduroy, or something that gives off a different tone, a different shade. So here's another 45-inch wide where they are taking the two top pieces and laying those out, and then the rest, they're opening this up. See, it's open from selvage to selvage. This one is open from selvage to selvage here, and then it's folded in half like I have mine folded. If it was selvage to selvage, you would just have this entire piece open up, no folding, and you would lay it out. That's what that means. Okay, so I'm actually I have mine folded in half, and mine is actually 54 inches wide instead of 60, but I'm gonna try and get as close to this 60 as I possibly can. So it's just gonna be a matter of trying to fit it in, following the layout principles that you need to use. So first, see, I'm gonna take my piece that I need to place on the fold, and which is here. Whenever you see something that says right here, this says center, this is the front, and it says center front on fold, and the arrows go toward that line, which means that you're going to put it on the fold and it's not a cutting line. Okay, then the other piece, it has, this is the other front back piece, okay, and it has what we call a grain line, see, with the arrow on the end here, meaning that I am actually going to take this piece, and when I lay it out, I am going to measure from one point, which is like, let's say right here, to the selvage, and then whatever that says, I'm going to make sure that the other end measures the same. Okay, so let's get started. Again, I'm going to take the piece that goes on the fold, and I'm trying to maximize my fabric. Okay, so I'm going to measure it. Not on this piece, I'm just going to place this on the fold. So I'll come over and see, it's going to be placed right on the fold, and then I will pin it. Now, some of you may feel comfortable with just taking, as you lay it out, then you take some fabric weight, some pattern weights, like I have here. These are pattern weights, and you can place them on directly on those corners right here, and you just go around. I have another set somewhere, and I'll just place them right there so they weigh it down. Then I could take my cutter, that's what this type of cutting board is, this green one, and take my rotary blade, and I can cut it out. Just place it down and cut. And that's usually really quick. All right, but in my case, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pin it instead. Just because I'm doing this demo and everybody may not have pattern weights, which is just quite okay. So I'm just using these pattern weights right now to hold the pieces down because I've got my ceiling fan on. So as you can see right here, see how that line is right on the edge of the fold. And I'm not cutting on that line. When I actually finish laying this out, I will cut starting here, go to that corner, turn, and come all the way here, cut, and follow my cutting line. All right, and then when I cut this piece out, the rest of it, I will start here, but this is a fold. You're not cutting on that line. That's the center front. All right, and then the next piece is the back. Now it's required, as I pointed out earlier, it has a grain line. See, you can barely see it on here, but see, that's the grain line. All right, grain line. So I am going to measure the grain line from the grain line to the selvage to make sure that it's straight. This is what I mean. All right, I'm going to take a weight, put this weight on it to hold it so it doesn't fly away. Take my tape measure, and with my tape measure, I'm going to measure from the grain line, okay, and it's one, the grain line to the selvage, which is right here, and it says that it is 6. All right, so I will put a pin or a weight there, and I'll move down to the other end right here. Okay, as you can see, when I set it at the marker for the grain line, it says 6 2/8. So I just want to move the pattern a little bit down until it measures 6 at the edge of the selvage. Okay, so once that measures, those measurements are the same from one end of the grain line to the other end of the grain line, from there to the selvage. Once they're the same and I have pinned those, then I'll come back and I will pin or take the weights and pin all the way around the rest of the pattern piece. Okay, then I'm just going to follow the same principle as I move down. Okay, like here's the pocket. I'm placing it here because it will fit between the bodice and the side of the skirt. And see, it has a grain line. So I'm going to measure from there to the selvage, and then from there to the selvage, making sure those measurements are the same. And then I'm just going to follow that principle all until I've laid out all my pieces and cut it out, pinned it down and cut it out. Now what's different for me is, as I would cut out, because like I said, I have my table is not long enough to accommodate the length of the fabric. So as I cut it out, then I'll pull these pieces off. Or another good thing you can do is you can pin them. You can roll this piece up. Now remember it's pinned. That's why I primarily pin it, because I don't have enough space, length on my table to lay out my entire piece of fabric. So I pin this, then I'll roll it up. I'll move the weights just to give you I'll roll it up like this, being real careful, you know, not to shift it. So let's say I'm rolling it up with the pins in it, and then I'm able to pull it up. Okay, so then as I pull it up, you see how I have no fabric here, right? So I'm just gonna roll it out, this end out. Okay, and as I roll that end out, then I have enough to lay out this longer piece. Okay, so hope you get the idea that, and I'm still following the same principle. Wherever there is one for a grain line, I've got to measure from here to the grain line. Okay, then from this one, the other end, to the grain line. So you don't want to lay the pattern piece out like this. Okay, you don't want to lay it kind of where it fits. Sometimes it's like that. And see how much I have on that side with the fold. You've got to follow the principles with utilizing that grain line. Okay, or you don't want to decide, hey, I'm just going to put it this way, you know, where this side, the edge of the skirt, see how I've turned it? I've turned it to the point where it's almost on a bias, but not quite. So you just follow the principles of utilizing that grain line. Now, there are times, of course, where you can be creative and you can do whatever you want. But recognize that, you know, that's part of your creativity and your design. And you want it to look different than what is actually the pattern designed to do, what the pattern is designed to do. Okay, so you can be creative and you can turn it to get a different flavor, or you want the designs on the on the fabric to go a different direction. You can do all of that. I'm just saying we're gonna follow this particular at least know the basics for now, and then you can do what you want later. But at least you'll know why certain things may not fit right, may not hang right on your body, is because you've changed the design of the pattern. All right, so your garment is going to look totally different than what you may see on the pattern. All right, so we're going to finish laying this out. We're going to follow what we talked about earlier with the size. I'm just going to cut out on either 18, 20, 22, 24, whichever one works for you at the top and the bottom. So we'll cut this out, and then once that's cut out, the entire pieces are cut out, pinned and cut out, then we'll come back and mark it, take the pins out, and get ready to sew. Okay?